I was arranging fresh lilies in the dining room when I heard my son Michael's car pull into the driveway. Through the window, I watched him and his wife Amanda step out, their faces wearing those tight, practiced smiles I'd come to recognize over the past 6 months. Behind them, a small van arrived, and a woman emerged petite, perhaps in her 50s, with gray streaks in her dark hair pulled back severely. "Mother," Michael called out as they entered. "We brought someone to help you." I set down the vase carefully. "Help me with what?" "Don't be difficult," Amanda said, her voice sugary sweet. "We know how hard it's been since Dad passed. This is Rosa. She'll be staying in the guest cottage, helping with cooking and cleaning." Rosa stood silently by the door, eyes downcast, hands folded. When I spoke to her in English, she simply nodded and smiled blankly. "She doesn't speak English," Michael explained quickly. "Only Spanish, but she comes highly recommended. Very trustworthy." Something cold settled in my stomach, but I forced a smile. "How thoughtful of you both." "We'll get her settled," Amanda said, already moving toward the back of the house. "You just rest, Mother Catherine. We'll handle everything." That evening, after Michael and Amanda left for what they called a business dinner in the city, I sat in my study, the silence of the large house pressing against me. My late husband Richard had built this place 40 years ago. Every room held memories. Now it felt like a cage. Around 9, I heard soft footsteps in the hallway. I assumed Rosa was heading to bed. But then, my study door opened, and she stood there, no longer stooped and timid. Her eyes were sharp, intelligent, and when she spoke, her English was flawless. "Mrs. Whitmore, don't drink the tea they left for you in the kitchen. I watched your daughter-in-law add something to it while your son distracted you." My hand froze halfway to my chest. "What did you just say?" She stepped inside and closed the door. "My name isn't Rosa, and I don't work for your son. I'm Detective Linda Reyes, Fraud Division. I've been investigating your family for 3 weeks." The room tilted. I gripped the armrest of my chair. "Investigating my family?" Linda sat across from me, her demeanor completely transformed. 6 months ago, another elderly woman died in Westchester County. Her son and daughter-in-law inherited everything, a $2 million estate. The medical examiner ruled it heart failure, but something didn't add up. The woman had been healthy, active. We started looking into the family and found a pattern. "What pattern?" My voice came out as a whisper. "They hire caregivers who supposedly don't speak English. The families talk freely around them, believing they can't understand. Meanwhile, they slowly poison the elderly family member small doses. Nothing that shows up immediately in standard tests. They manufacture a health crisis, push for medical intervention that looks natural, and inherit everything." I couldn't breathe. "But Michael, he's my son." "I know this is hard." Linda's voice softened. "But 3 days ago, Amanda contacted the same placement agency that provided the caregiver for the Westchester case. They asked specifically for someone who didn't speak English and couldn't testify to anything unusual. That's when we intervened and sent me instead." "Why would they?" My throat closed around the words. "Your husband left everything to you, this house, the investments, his life insurance. $4 million. Your will leaves everything to Michael, but only after you pass. If you changed that will, if you decided to leave it to charity or divided it differently, they'd get nothing." I thought about the papers Amanda kept bringing me to sign. Investment opportunities, she'd called them. The pressure to update my will. "You're 72, Mother Catherine. These things need to be in order." "The tea," I managed. "What was in it?" "We'll test it, but based on the previous case, likely a compound that mimics natural heart problems. Small doses over weeks. You'd feel tired, weak. They'd express concern, push you to see doctors they've researched. Eventually, your heart would simply give out. Natural causes. Rage, white-hot and crystalline, cut through my shock. My son wants to murder me. Your son wants your money. Amanda is the driving force. We've traced her back to 2 previous marriages, both to wealthy older men who died under suspicious circumstances. She's a professional, and you're here to catch them. With your help, yes. But Mrs. Whitmore, I need you to understand this is dangerous. They've done this before. They're careful. We need ironclad evidence, and that means you have to pretend nothing has changed. I straightened in my chair, feeling something I hadn't felt in months. Purpose. Tell me what to do. Over the next week, I became an actress. Each morning, I drank the tea Amanda prepared. But first, while Rosa cleaned nearby, I'd pour most of it into the potted orchid by the window. I complained of fatigue, let my hand tremble when I reached for things. I watched my son's face light up with something that might have been hope or might have been guilt. I couldn't tell anymore. Linda installed micro cameras throughout the house. In the evenings, after Michael and Amanda left, we'd review the footage in my study. There, Linda said, pausing the recording. On screen, Amanda stood in my kitchen, pulling a small vial from her purse. She measured liquid into my morning tea, then stirred it carefully before placing the cup on my breakfast tray. That's evidence, I breathed. It's a start. But we need more. We need to know who else is involved, what the full scope is. The breakthrough came on Thursday. Amanda thought I was napping, but I'd positioned myself in the upstairs hallway where I could hear her phone conversation in the guest room. The old woman is deteriorating right on schedule, Amanda said, her voice clinically detached. Another 2 weeks. Maybe 3. The doctor's appointment is Monday. I'll make sure he notes her heart irregularities. Then we just wait for nature to take its course. What about the detective? A male voice crackled through the phone's speaker. What detective? There are rumors the fraud division is investigating similar cases. Amanda laughed. Let them investigate. By the time they figure anything out, Catherine will be dead, the estate will be settled, and we'll be in the Caymans. Michael's already transferred the first payment to your account. Payment for what? I mouthed to Linda, who'd appeared silently beside me. The voice continued. The coroner is in place. When she dies, the autopsy will show natural causes. I'll make sure of it. But I want the rest of the money before the funeral. You'll get it, Amanda assured him. Just stick to the plan. After she hung up, Linda and I retreated to my study. The coroner is corrupt, Linda said, her jaw tight. This goes deeper than we thought. How many people have they killed? We're about to find out. That night, Linda made calls to her department. By morning, federal investigators had joined the operation. They traced Amanda's phone records, financial transactions, travel history. What they found made my blood run cold. Amanda Patterson, her real name was Amy Westfield. She'd been married 4 times. 3 of her previous husbands had died within 2 years of marriage, all from apparent heart attacks or strokes. Each time, she'd inherited everything. Each time, she'd disappeared for a few years before resurfacing with a new identity and a new target. She's a serial killer, I said, staring at the photographs spread across my desk. Yes, Linda confirmed. And your son is helping her. Does he know? About the others? We believe so. Financial records show he received payments from her before they married. He knew what she was, what she'd done. He married her specifically to help target you. I closed my eyes. The son I'd raised, the boy who'd cried when his goldfish died, who'd held my hand at his father's funeral, that person was gone. Or maybe he'd never existed at all. I want them stopped, I said. All of them. The coroner, anyone else involved. I want them to pay for every life they've taken. Then we need to let them make their move. It's the only way to catch them all red-handed. The plan was set for the following Monday. I would have my heart episode carefully staged with medical personnel standing by. Amanda would call her corrupt coroner. Michael would express his perfectly rehearsed grief, and we'd catch all of them. Sunday evening, Amanda prepared a special dinner. Your favorite, Mother Catherine, she said, setting down a plate of herb-crusted salmon. You need to keep your strength up for the doctor's appointment tomorrow. I knew the medication was in the sauce. Linda had already tested samples from previous meals. This time, Amanda had increased the dosage enough to trigger the crisis she'd been building toward. It looks delicious, I said, smiling. Under the table, I felt Linda's hand touch my knee, the signal. But I'm actually not feeling well. I think I'll just have some tea and go to bed early. Amanda's expression flickered annoyance, then concern. Are you all right? Just tired. So very tired. I let my voice waver. Would you help me upstairs, Michael? My son jumped up, all solicitous attention. As he helped me climb the stairs, I felt his hand on my elbow and wondered if he felt anything: guilt, remorse, love. His face revealed nothing. "Get some rest, Mom," he said, tucking me into bed like he had when I'd been sick during his childhood. "We'll check on you in the morning." After they left, Linda entered through the connecting door. Federal agents are positioned around the property. Medical team is in the garage. Tomorrow morning, we end this. I didn't sleep. I lay in the dark, thinking about Richard, about the life we'd built, about how quickly everything could be stolen. Not just money or property, but trust, family, the belief that you knew the people you loved. At dawn, I heard Amanda and Michael moving around downstairs. Linda nodded to me. "It's time." I stumbled down the hallway, one hand on the wall, the other clutched to my chest. "Michael!" I called out weakly. "Something's wrong. I can't breathe right." They rushed to me, their faces perfect masks of concern. Amanda reached for her phone. "I'm calling 911. "No," Michael said quickly. "Call Dr. Morrison. He knows her medical history." Dr. Morrison was the corrupt coroner, using a fake name to pose as my physician. Linda had confirmed it the day before. I let myself collapse into Michael's arms. My chest. "Hold on, Mom. The doctor's coming." His voice cracked convincingly. Method acting? I thought bitterly. Or maybe some small part of him still felt something. Within minutes, a man I'd never seen before rushed into my house, medical bag in hand. "Mrs. Whitmore, I'm Dr. Morrison. Your son called me. Let's get you comfortable." He helped me onto the sofa, placed a blood pressure cuff on my arm. Behind him, I could see Amanda watching intently, Michael hovering near her. "Your heart rate is extremely irregular," the fake doctor said gravely. "Has this happened before?" I don't know. I've been so tired lately. "We need to get you to the hospital immediately. I'm afraid you may be having a cardiac event." He reached into his bag, pulled out a syringe. That's when Linda dropped her act. "Police, hands where I can see them." She appeared from the kitchen, gun drawn, badge held high. At the same moment, federal agents crashed through the front and back doors. The man with the syringe froze. Amanda ran for the stairs but was tackled by two agents. Michael just stood there, hands raised, his face blank with shock. "What's in the syringe?" Linda demanded, moving to handcuff the fake doctor. "I want a lawyer." "That's fine. We'll test it ourselves." My guess? Enough potassium chloride to stop Mrs. Whitmore's heart immediately. Untraceable in a normal autopsy, especially when the coroner examining the body is you. They found everything when they searched Amanda's car, more vials of the medication she'd been using, detailed notes on my daily routine, copies of my will and insurance policies, and most damning, a ledger documenting 4 previous jobs with payments received. In Michael's phone, they found text messages coordinating timing, discussing how to handle me if I became suspicious, even joking about how easy I was to manipulate. The easy part was over. The hard part was sitting in the police station, watching through one-way glass as my son was interrogated. "I didn't know," Michael kept saying. "I didn't know she'd done this before. I thought it was just us. Just this one time. But you knew you were poisoning your mother," the interrogator said flatly. Michael's head dropped. Amanda said it would be painless. That Mom wouldn't suffer. That she was old anyway. And the money should go to us instead of sitting in accounts. She made it sound reasonable. I left before I heard more. Some truths are too painful to witness. Linda found me in the hallway. "The FBI is taking over. They've connected Amanda to 6 deaths, possibly more. The coroner was part of a network. They've been falsifying death certificates for years, helping killers inherit estates across 3 states. How many lives?" I asked. "How many people died because of them?" "We're still investigating. But because of you, because you were willing to play along, we've stopped them." "You've saved lives, Mrs. Whitmore." I didn't feel like a hero. I felt hollowed out, ancient in a way that had nothing to do with age. The trial took 18 months. Amanda Amy fought viciously, tried to claim she was innocent, that she'd been manipulated by others. But the evidence was overwhelming. Phone records, financial trails, Testimony from Linda and other investigators. The syringe full of lethal medication. She was sentenced to life without parole for multiple counts of murder and attempted murder. The corrupt coroner received 25 years. Michael pleaded guilty in exchange for a reduced sentence. 15 years. The prosecutor said he showed remorse, cooperated with investigators. I didn't attend his sentencing. Linda told me he'd looked for me in the courtroom, that he'd cried when he realized I wasn't there. I sold the house. Too many memories, too much pain in every room. I bought a smaller place in Oregon, near the coast, where I'd always wanted to live but never had the chance. But before I left New York, I did something Richard would have approved of. I used a portion of the estate to establish a foundation, the Richard Whitmore Trust for Elder Protection. It funds investigation into elder abuse, supports legal aid for seniors who suspect financial exploitation, and trains caregivers and medical professionals to recognize warning signs. Linda Reyes became the foundation's first board member and chief investigator. 3 times in the past year, she's identified and stopped similar schemes. 3 more families spared what I went through. I think about Michael sometimes. I wrote him one letter after the dust settled. I told him I forgave him, not because he deserved it, but because I refused to let hate consume what was left of my life. I told him that when he was released, if he truly wanted redemption, there was a place for him in the work I was doing, that protecting others might help atone for what he'd done. He never wrote back. Last Tuesday, I was having coffee with Linda on my deck, watching the ocean, when she got a call. Another case, a woman in Seattle whose stepchildren seemed overly interested in her health. A new caregiver who allegedly spoke no English. "I need to go," Linda said, already standing. "Be careful," I told her. "And Linda? Thank you." She smiled. "You saved your own life, Catherine. You just let me help." After she left, I sat there for a long time, coffee growing cold in my hands. The sun was setting, painting the water gold and crimson. Somewhere in a prison cell, my son was living with his choices. Somewhere else, Amanda was probably planning even now, convinced she was smarter than everyone, that she'd eventually find a way out. But me? I was here, alive, purposeful. I'd faced the worst betrayal imaginable and survived it. More than survived, I'd transformed it into something meaningful. That night, I received an email from a woman in Florida. She'd heard about the foundation, about my story. She was 76, she wrote, and her nephew had recently married a much younger woman who was suddenly very interested in helping manage her affairs. She was frightened, but didn't know what to do. I forwarded the email to Linda with a note. Another one. Let's help her, because that's what we do now. Linda and the dozen other investigators and advocates we've trained. We're the people who see clearly what others want to hide. We're the quiet ones, the overlooked ones, the ones they think don't matter. We're the ones who refuse to let them win. I've been asked if I'm bitter, if I wake up angry about what Michael and Amanda took from me. The truth is more complicated. They took my trust, yes, my belief in family, my sense of safety, but they couldn't take everything. They couldn't take my intelligence, my will to survive, my ability to find purpose even in betrayal. They thought I was just a lonely old woman with money, easy prey, irrelevant except for what I owned. They were wrong. And now, every person we save, every scheme we expose, every family we keep intact, that's my revenge. Not against Michael or Amanda specifically, but against the idea that age makes you worthless, that being kind makes you weak, that trust is foolishness. I'm 74 now. I've lived through my husband's death, my son's betrayal, a murder attempt, and 18 months of legal hell. I've learned that family is what you build, not what you're born with. That Linda, my chosen sister, is worth more than blood that turned out to be nothing but poison. On my desk, I keep a photo from my wedding day, Richard and me, young and impossibly hopeful. Next to it, a newer photo. Linda and me, at the Foundation's anniversary gala, surrounded by the people we've helped, the lives we've saved. In the newer photo, I'm smiling. Really smiling. Because here's what Amanda never understood. Killing me would have been easy. And now I'm dangerous in a way she never anticipated dangerous because I'm free, I'm angry, and I'm dedicated to making sure no one else suffers what I almost did. Michael will be released in 13 years. Sometimes I wonder if he'll contact me, if he'll have truly changed. I don't know what I'll say if he does, but I know this. I'll still be here, still fighting, still turning tragedy into purpose. They thought I was finished. They thought I was helpless. They should have known better than to underestimate a woman who survived 74 years of life's hardest lessons. The ocean is beautiful tonight. Tomorrow, Linda and I have a meeting with a potential case in Colorado. After that, I'm speaking at a conference on elder financial abuse. I'm busier now than I was at 40, and I've never felt more alive.